Good morning. You are listening to KPCA LP in Petaluma. This show is Dynamic Change, and the focus of this show is to provide psychological techniques that will help you develop more wellness in your life and a more fulfilling connection with others. My name is Michelle Love, and I am a certified wellness coach, self-defense instructor, fitness trainer, and have a degree in psychology. For more information on me, you can go to my website, dynamicchange.wellness.com. Also on my website, you can find my email, which is dcwellness88@gmail.com, and you can email me with your questions, if things you want brainstormed, topics that have been challenging, and I can discuss them in future shows and answer those. I hope you're doing extremely well today. And today I'm very excited to talk about feeling safe when you're allowing yourself to also express yourself in a vulnerable manner. I think that this is a very challenging dynamic for a lot of people, and which makes sense. Being vulnerable and feeling vulnerable is not a comfortable feeling. But the reason I would like to really discuss this is if you can allow yourself to bring those vulnerable feelings forward in your life and are able to balance it in a way where you give it healthy boundaries, where you can feel emotionally safe to come forward with that, it is very impactful for your healing. This is very, very powerful practice. So I love to share it with people. So basically, when we are vulnerable, when we know we can be safe while we are expressing vulnerability, it makes you so strong, like feeling empowered, like it is okay that you will survive that moment of really revealing yourself and really discussing about something you're uncomfortable with. This is really, I think, a very huge component to having healthy boundaries, because I think it gets in the way of a lot of people expressing what they need. They're scared of revealing that underbelly, that I feel totally exposed. What is this person going to do with this? Are they going to attack me for it? Are they going to make me feel bad because I feel vulnerable? Are they going to use it against me? And I think this is a really big block to people being able to ask for what they need. And if we're able to ask for what we need, think of how much healthier our romantic relationships would be, our friendships, our family connections sometimes could really use that openness as well. So I think this is a really big topic to discuss. And so I'm excited to share this with you. So what I would like to start out with is thinking about, where does your vulnerability, where does it originate? So again, I love to really go back to the psychology of it in your childhood. So you can go pinpoint it by noticing, I am triggered when I have to relay, there's something that makes me feel vulnerable. Because I don't think every single situation makes us feel vulnerable. So noticing when something really triggers that in you, and what kind of category does that fall into? Is it about feeling lovable, or feeling good enough, or feeling safe to express, have a voice? What brings that vulnerability up for you? So when you notice that you're feeling really triggered, I recommend, as always, I always bring this up, giving people examples of how they can start articulating and tuning into their feelings. Because sometimes they're so deep, or we've been so busy and kind of brushing over our feelings in life that we're not able to slow down enough to really always be able to know exactly what they are. And I think that can be very normal, which isn't a good thing, but our society demands us to move at a very fast pace. And the consequences of moving at a really fast pace is that we get a little numbed out and we get used to feeling a certain amount of emotional discomfort, which can make our bodies hurt, which can create chronic patterns of not feeling well. So that's why I'm always showing you ways you can use meditation and breathing and journaling and all kinds of wellness techniques for checking in with yourself. So I would look at what is being triggered in you, and I will be giving you an example. I always love to give you a story. Stories are one of my favorite things, life stories. We all have them. And so I will always share those with you to give an example and of how this can play out through psychology. And I make up scenarios. Sometimes they're things I've witnessed in life. And I will always give you these examples to really make it real, really describe the psychology in that moment. So if you come up with a situation where you feel, today's example will be when you feel like you are not safe to express your emotional needs. So feeling like the environment that you are dealing with does not provide that kind of honesty or being present with other people. And so I'm going to describe a scenario, and then I'm going to break it down for you with the psychology, and then I'm going to show you some techniques with psychology and with meditation and breathing and working with the somatic feeling in your body of feeling vulnerable and how to create a new healthy pattern for yourself and release an emotional block. Okay, so today I'm going to make up a name here. We're going to come up, today's name is Jane. So Jane, she is, we're going to just say she regularly is in an environment where she feels it's hostile. The person in charge tends to put people down, tends to really want to have kind of a power play. So in knocking people down a little bit to make them feel more powerful. So it's like this toxic environment that Jane is dealing with on a regular basis. And this person that is doing this, we're going to call him Bob. So Bob is utilizing this dynamic, and he covers it up with humor. He's a very intelligent person, but his own insecurities are, this is how it's playing it out. So she feels very triggered. Jane feels triggered by this, and it makes her feel really uncomfortable dealing with this toxic pattern. It makes her feel like she's going to be attacked for no reason, that she has to witness other people being put down verbally and emotionally. It's very upsetting for her. She's a very sensitive person, this Jane. So she's been trying to decide how to handle this situation, because it's a situation she needs to be involved with. You know, can she change it? Can she find a different environment? How can she remove herself from the situation? Or how can she create a different dynamic for herself, for her experience? So Jane notices she's triggered. Now, what she can do with that is start journaling. So she can journal and try to notice, where does this go back to in her childhood? Where did I feel like I was witnessing people being put down? Where was I witnessing a hostile, toxic environment where someone enjoyed, someone sadistic? Because it's sadistic to do this kind of power play. So, where did this originate from? So, she can start looking at, I feel uncomfortable with this. I'm not sure why, but I'm gonna start just write about it. Anything you can, just kind of a free association. Sometimes we know right away. I know exactly where that comes from, and that's great, but sometimes we don't. So journaling is helpful. Now let's say journaling didn't work for Jane. Let's say Jane was trying to articulate. Sometimes when people have a lot of trauma in their childhood, they don't remember quite a bit. That is a trauma response. So another way to access the emotional body and the subconscious, powerful tool is art. I always recommend to really try to have art incorporated within your life in one form or another. It's a very powerful tools to kind of gently move the emotions in the body, bring them up to the surface in a very safe way. So there's all kinds of ways we can do art. Jane could do, I think sculpting is very powerful. There's a couple that I find to be very visceral that I think really taps into the subconscious, because your mind's not overly involved. Sometimes when we draw, it can be so structured that I think it can really incorporate the mind a little too much, right? We want to get to the layers that have been repressed. So sometimes the layers are forgotten, but they are held in your body deep within. And sometimes they only come up when we dream. We want to be able to bring that up to the surface so we can clear it. So I love sculpting. It's very visceral. It's just enjoy it. So there's not so much an agenda. You don't want to, I want this to be pretty, or I'm making a piece of whatever it is. I recommend just letting it be sometimes nothing, turn into something ugly, because these feelings don't feel good. So they're not going to be pretty when they come up. So allow that sculpting to be kind of raw, like a child would, right? Just imagine a young child just expressing with that modality, with that clay. And so I love sculpting, and you can beat it up, you can squish it, you can, and that's really healthy and cathartic. So I think even finger painting is very powerful, because it's hard to make it look pretty. It's hard to make it look a certain way. And I think it taps into a deeper level of expression that is more emotional and less just thinking. Okay, we have all these layers of the self. We have the mind, we have our emotions, we have the emotions, how they are experienced in the body, which is called the somatic experience. So there's many layers to how we experience ourselves. So I really recommend deep breathing, which will help you really tune into how you're feeling, allows the body to relax, allows the mind to relax, and works with your energy, which works with your emotions. So doing some deep breathing and then doing some form of art is very helpful. And even walking, like deep breathing and walking very slowly in nature, can help things, or sitting. So sitting down in nature, doing some deep breathing, sitting at the beach, and just let yourself be calm, be settled within yourself, and see what comes up. This can be very revealing and very helpful. So my other favorite is pastellos, like the chalk, that colored chalk, and not oil pastellos. I've tried those. They're lovely, but they're harder to smear. I think smearing is lovely, and you can do this very kind of visceral, very from maybe even tapping into your inner child, a young part of yourself, of just enjoying the letting your fingers do this exploration and expression like finger painting. So finding something that allows yourself to express. Sometimes get up and dance can be helpful, and just deep breathe and then just sit down after you dance and see what comes up. So allowing something to come up, trying to articulate it. Now once that you have allowed something to come up, there's some form of articulation, keep running with that, because there are places in our psyche there are no words. And that's why I recommend kind of visceral forms of art and expression. Is sometimes it's things that are so far within our psyche. It could be pre-verbal, who knows, but there, I think parts of the emotional experience cannot be easily put into words. These are experiences that are more just with our senses and more with what our body experienced. So your mind can't always define it 100%. It's like speaking another language. It's not always a translation. So giving yourself many different ways to access this information is very, very powerful. So once you've articulated it to some extent, let's go back to Jane. Let's see how Jane's doing with this. So Jane has done some work around this, going, why do I feel so triggered by this person's behavior? A, it's toxic. None of us are going to like that, right? That's not going to feel good. But for her, it's triggering fear. And the fear makes her feel so vulnerable, so unsafe on an emotional level, that it's very disturbing. And she dreads being in this environment. Every time she has to go, she's like, wow, this is really, like, I feel so apprehensive. I feel some fear come up. I feel my stomach gets upset. I feel anxiety come up. You know, what is this feeling unsafe, feeling vulnerable, like it's something she can't control? What does this all come from? So she's really thought about it. She's done some deep breathing. And so she's been really analyzing this for herself. And what Jane comes up with, and again, this is my imaginary person to give you this example that I've come up with. This is not an actual person. So Jane has come up with some information for herself. And again, my name is Michelle Love, and I am a certified wellness coach, self-defense instructor, fitness trainer, and I have a degree in psychology. And the name of this show is Dynamic Change, and I'm here today with KPCA LP in Petaluma with this radio show. And the focus of this show is psychological techniques that will help you have more wellness in your life and help to clear emotional blocks and develop new healthy patterns and boundaries for yourself. Okay, so our imaginary person, Jane, has articulated what makes her feel vulnerable, because our topic today is allowing yourself to feel vulnerability and creating some healthy, safe feeling boundaries so you can clear something that makes you feel vulnerable and express it in your life and move forward. So she realizes that this toxic person, and we named him Bob. We came up with the imaginary name Bob. So Bob does this kind of power dynamic of being abusive, verbally abusive, and putting people down, but they cover it up with their humor. They're a very intelligent, articulate person, emotionally not as mature, and they're utilizing a scenario where they can try to make it look okay what they're doing through the humor, but it's very uncomfortable for everyone involved. And Jane is very disturbed by this, and she realizes that this goes back to her childhood. It goes back to her childhood, and she had a parent. She had a step parent that tended to put her down And she's like, oh, wow, I, this is really triggering. Through my childhood, I always felt put down, and that it was presented in a way where it was supposed to be acceptable and okay, like it was nothing, that her feelings were nothing. And it wasn't an environment where she felt like she could express safely this vulnerability. If she used her voice, she was put down even further. She was intimidated even further. So it was this toxic, sadistic kind of pattern that she had grown up with. And Jane was like, wow, I feel so disturbed by this. I don't want to even be exposed to this person's behavior anymore, this environment. But it's a situation in her life she can't change overnight. It's a part of her daily life and everything, and her daily structure. So she's been trying to brainstorm, well, how can I replace this situation and not have to go to it anymore? And so she's been thinking about it, and she's dialogued with some of these other people in the situation that she would like to not have to deal with it anymore. And Bob eventually hears about her wanting to leave this environment. He doesn't know why, and she hasn't really told people why. She's just kind of expressed that she's looking to change it. So Bob confronts Jane, and Jane is really terrified to talk about why she wants to leave this particular situation with Bob. And he's in a power structure. The situation is he's in charge. He's above her within that situation. And she feels very exposed, extremely vulnerable. Jane is close to tears, but she wants to bring forth the truth of the situation for herself, and to also give him a healthy mirror of what he's doing to people. So she decides to tell him, yes, I've been wanting to leave this environment, and it's because I am so uncomfortable with the dynamic here. And again, he's trying to make a joke, make light of it, like it's nothing, that it's all her problem or whatever. And then so she continues and she says, I feel like you are abusive and you put people down, and you are using your sense of humor to make it seem okay. And I am so affected by this. This makes me feel so uncomfortable, and that I don't think I can actually tolerate it. And that's why I have been looking to change this situation to where I no longer need to be around it. So what happens in that situation, by the way, this is a true story. And so I know what happened. So Jane, she's upset. She feels like she's going to cry. This is triggering all of her childhood experience of how the step parent had treated them. And it was very harmful for their emotional body and psychologically when they were growing up. So this is super scary, right? Jane's being really brave. I'm excited for Jane. She's kicking butt in this moment by allowing herself to feel vulnerable, by allowing herself to be honest and take that risk, say it anyway. So I love this story. It's one of my favorite stories. So what happens is when she tells this to Bob, Bob is like, has no idea what to say to this. No one has ever, from what Jane knows, no one has ever called him out, because he was good at running this pattern, and he was good at being a bully. And he's a very intelligent, articulate person, so he had pulled this off for a long time. And everyone within that environment had been they were intimidated by his bravado, by his behavior, and so no one was confronting him. And when she said that, not only was he speechless, not only did he not know what have his reaction was like shocked that someone had called him out. And they did it in a way, when you do it in a way that's honest and vulnerable, you're not adding to the negativity. That does not allow any opening for argumentation around it. It's not allowing any kind of negative fuel to the fire. See, that's the power in being vulnerable. The power in being vulnerable is, it's not a negative thing. It is a very positive, I'm sharing something honestly with you to help heal a situation. It's not attacking. It's so when you do that with someone, I have found it is one of the most powerful ways to handle a really difficult person or a bully. It's like you go underneath their behavior and you speak from the heart. So rather than battling with them with your mind, you're going to come from the heart, from the gut, in a real way. And people have a hard time fighting that kind of realness. They have a hard time being defensive. When you're vulnerable, they really can't be defensive with that. It speaks to such a deeper level of expression where people feel it. So it's more like talking from your heart, taking that risk. It really, what I have found is when this type of expression is used, it like deactivates a person's ability to attack you. It is so powerful. That's why I really want to share this on finding ways to give yourself some safe feeling, like boundaries and containers, so you can do this. Because I think it is one of the most powerful tools you can use in communication. And it will heal you so fast. It is so effective. So Jane does this. He's speechless. She's near tears. This is just one of the scariest things she's ever done. She's like, oh my God, this was really hard for me. So she leaves the office and then she goes and cries, right? And she just really acknowledges that was difficult for her and brought up a lot of stuff, but it had to be said, it had to be cleared. So what this does for, first let's handle Bob. So the end of this story, again, one of my favorite stories, such a powerful story, is that the next day, Bob stopped abusing all the other people. And what Jane got to witness was that he dramatically, very visibly, very noticeably changed his behavior. And so she could see the power of her bravery, of being vulnerable, what this did to affect him so he could learn about himself and reflect, which obviously he did. And not only did it take care of herself, because he did not mess with Jane anymore, but it helped protect all these people in that situation. And how far did that ripple out to affect so many other people, all the other people that he affects in his life and has a power structure with, or maybe his relationship dynamics, this whole environmental situation, this ripples out and helps many people. And so that was a really, really powerful thing for Jane to witness and to feel. So I love that. So Bob got to learn. Good for Bob. Fantastic. I'm excited for Bob to be able to feel the impact and think and reflect about when you treat people really poorly and you're sadistically enjoying it. That's super not okay. And we want people to grow. We want people to learn. We want to have better dynamics in society and in environments that we need to go to on a regular basis and everything. Like, it's really important that we look at how we affect other people. This is important for kids when they're growing up. This is important for work environments, for relationships. We really want to have more respect and understand how we affect people and keep working on learning about ourselves and how to put a better foot forward and to be more thoughtful and mindful. So this was a great story. Happy for Bob, and even more happy for Jane. Jane took that chance. And for her, when she took that chance, this allowed her to realize she could deal with that trigger, that she could change the emotional experience that she grew up with, where it was unsafe for her to communicate that someone that is enjoys humiliation and enjoys putting someone down, being really toxic, intimidating someone, that she could create a safe container, even if she felt vulnerable and kind of terrified, like, wow, that was like really overwhelming and scary, but I did it anyway. And I could be safe. I could be emotionally safe in that moment because this is not the childhood, right? But our inner child is really stuck in the experience of what happened as they were growing up. So the trick to being able to create this safe container is tapping into the experience that the inner child grew up with, articulating it, allowing it to be expressed so it starts to come out of your body a little bit, out of the psyche a little bit. It's not stuck in your body, right? You're starting to name it. So you name it and you articulate it, you describe it, you can do art around it, you can get mad, go do martial arts, you can go hit the baseball, you can go to the batting range, do some things that allow you to get upset about it because it wasn't okay. So you let this stuff out, you let it be processed, and then you start parenting your inner child. So what you do is you start creating some safe container for that inner child. So you are parenting. So you talk to that part of yourself as a parent and say, okay, I really acknowledge what you went through, and that was not okay. So we're going to get out of our body. We're going to get out of our emotional experience and the negative, maybe the self-talk that was developed from that situation for the mind. We're going to get this out of our body. So the art is going to help get it out of your body. You can write about it. You can do physical activities, like go for a really powerful hike. And it's just like, with the intention, set the intention as you're doing these things, I'm going to release this from my body. I'm going to release it from my emotional baggage. And we're going to keep bringing it out of your body. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a guided meditation that you can do this with me right now to help you get this out of your somatic emotional experience of things that are held within your body. So you can do this with me now. Hopefully you can sit down, or maybe it's the end of your day, and we're going to take some deep breaths. So we're going to take 3 deep breaths, and then I'm going to show you some meditation techniques for bringing this toxicity out of your body and starting to release this emotional buildup and block within you. So if you're sitting down, having your feet on the floor, your legs are not crossed, And you put your hands with palms up on your thighs. We're going to take 3 deep breaths. Here we go. Deep breath, hold it for a moment. And then when you exhale, push all that air out as if you're squeezing out a sponge. Push, push, push. And then another deep breath. Hold that breath for a moment. Hold it in. And then exhale fully. One more deep breath. Hold it, and then exhale. Now I want you to imagine, we're just going to visualize. With your mind, visualize a ball of gunk. I like to do like sludgy colors, so like a gray, brown gunk color. And that's the color I'm going to give to this ball of toxicity from that experience. I'm going to put it out in front of me like a big ball. Okay, so this big ball of like energy and gunk, emotional experience, all the pain, all the shame, all the guilt, anything that stress, not feeling good about yourself, feeling put down, feeling minimized, like I wasn't important, whatever it is, whatever I can find in there. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do, and this is what Jane's gonna do. Any kind of stress, negativity that is stored in the psyche, in the body, and we're gonna make it this big ball in front of us, so it's outside of ourselves. So now we're gonna do some deep breaths. We're gonna inhale, exhale. We're gonna imagine pushing this stuff out with the exhale and into this ball in front of us. So here we go. Do this with me now. We're gonna inhale, exhale, push it out. Inhale, exhale, push it out. One more breath. Inhale, exhale, push it out. Good. So we've pushed this ball of negativity out in front of us. Now what we're going to do is send some color to transform it, to start to heal it, to love it, to dissolve it, however you want to do it. I love fire, so I like to send fire. You can just see it start to dissolve. If you like water, you can send beautiful, soothing water to it, whatever you want. So now we're going to take 3 breaths, and with that, we're going to shift that. You can send it another color. So you can send it like a green or a beautiful blue to start just breaking it down and soothe it. I love fire, so sometimes I like to just burn it up. So we're going to take 3 deep breaths and exhale and send that color to that gunk. Another deep breath and sending this color out to that gunk. And one more breath and sending that color out. And what I recommend is doing this visualization regularly, like seeing that you have removed this pattern out of your body. Like do it every day, do it a couple times a day, and send some sort of healing, some sort of color, something to transform it. So we're talking to our inner child at this point, and we are letting them know that that it's safe for our inner child to keep expressing their emotional experience of what they had gone through that was triggered by this experience, and that we're going to allow them, give them permission to release it from the body, have them help you. So let's say you feel this part of yourself was 8 years old, and boy, that was really, you feel your 8-year-old saying, that was really difficult growing up with this pattern. Tell your inner child, well, you know what, now we're going to play with this. I'm going to help them, give them permission and support them like your own parent within yourself. I'm going to be here to help you release this from the body, to help you expel it and creatively change it. So this is what we're going to do with that visualization, with that intention, with that meditation, that guided meditation practice. Okay? So we're using all these different types of tools. And again, my name is Michelle Love. The show is Dynamic Change. You're listening to KPCA LP in Petaluma. The focus of this show is giving psychological techniques to provide more wellness within your life and more fulfilling connections with others. And these techniques will help you release emotional blocks, childhood experiences, so you can start feeling better and having more of your energy available for creating positive patterns in your life. So today we're talking about developing a way to feel safe when you need to express something that makes you feel very vulnerable. So you can clear that fear, where it is originated from, and I'm discussing how it can be developed within your childhood and how you can work with the inner child, work on parenting the inner child to create a feeling of safety so you can clear these blocks and these emotional experiences and move forward. So we've talked about a meditation technique to expel that toxic emotional feeling from those experiences out of your body, and to imagine it be like a ball of energy in front of you so you can bring it out of your body, and you're going to send healing to that on a regular basis throughout the day, every day, a couple times a day, and keep healing that. And so I made up this imaginary person. It's a true story, so I love this story. But this story of Jane. Jane experienced how she took the chance of allowing herself to feel vulnerable, say why she felt vulnerable, and in doing that, the bully she was dealing with, we gave him the made-up name of Bob, that she was able to reach him because her vulnerability was so powerful, so raw, so emotionally present, that he was able to hear that his behavior was harming her and others, and that she was honestly telling him, I cannot tolerate being around your toxic behavior. And she didn't attack him. She didn't provide any opening for him to battle her. When you take this brave step of being vulnerable within your expression, there is no opening for them to battle with you. This is such a powerful, powerful, powerful tool to have within your communication. It's really worth the bravery, the fear that comes up, the uncomfortableness. You will heal your psyche by doing this, and you will teach others. So when we do this, I encourage you to keep working with your inner child and developing a plan. So we've talked about a guided meditation plan to start working with the inner child and the emotional experience. And then I also like to talk about how you can change and develop new patterns within your mind and your behavior as well. So within your mind, realizing if there's any negative belief, like self-talk that was developed from this experience in the childhood, start articulating that and speak to it. Wow, I really believed that I wasn't worth being heard, I wasn't worth being treated well, and that it was okay for people to put me down and say harmful things. towards me, or treat other people poorly or bully me or whatever it is. So that's the mental belief patterns that were taken on through the childhood. So you write them all down, and then you write, and that's a load of crap. It's not true. It's not, none of it's true, none of it's valid. And look at the person that, so in this made up situation, it was a step parent. The step parent, you look at the step parent, because now you're an adult and you can see them more clearly. Okay, they had a lot of their own issues. Maybe they were an alcoholic. Maybe they grew up with a lot of abuse. It doesn't make it okay, their behavior. We're not saying their behavior was okay, but we're putting understanding to it. Try to have a little compassion and say, it was not okay how they treated me. I'm allowing myself to have feelings around it. I'm allowing myself to feel angry. I'm allowing myself to express it. But when you look at them and you see who they are, it allows you to also understand why they were doing it, and it makes it less personal. So if you can see someone and how they're broken, right? Everyone's got their issues. Sometimes so these things about them were their own wounding, their own really dysfunctional behavior. If we look at it very honestly, then we can also recognize they would have done this to anybody. It's not so personal where it was just me, even though the experience is personal. But I think it's good to try to remove ourselves from it a little bit and just say, okay, this is a person that has this kind of issues. This is why they have the issues, and it's not okay. They should want to work on themselves, and maybe they should have tried harder, or whatever it is. And I can have feelings around that. Allow yourself to be upset or hurt or whatever. Acknowledge that. Really allow that poison to come up through your psyche, through your body. But then also recognize that you can emotionally separate from that. And in giving yourself some freedom with that separation of they would have done this to anybody, it removes the personal attack out of the emotional body somewhat, out of the psyche, to where it makes you feel like any of it was true about who you were, about how you may have bought into it as a child, which is totally, there's no way around that, right? But we want to start healing that. So when we can look at them just as a person, less as a parent in that moment, just really look at them as a person, like you're looking at the situation from outside, and they weren't right. This doesn't define me. This doesn't define my character. It doesn't have to define my emotional experience anymore. So separating that out, and then deciding how you can create healthy boundaries for yourself. Okay, so now I'm going to start thinking different. I'm going to think positive new thoughts about myself, that I am worthy of being treated well. I am worthy of being in an environment that feels loving and kind and supportive. I am worthy of saying when things make me feel uncomfortable and leaving that environment, or standing up for myself and then leaving the environment. I am worthy of only allowing people that are loving and kind within my life. So you start thinking new thoughts. You have different things you're going to say, and you're going to develop phrases of new things you're going to incorporate. You're going to practice them in your mind, make them real. Program yourself to have a plan of what you would say, and keep rehearsing it over and over and over in your mind, of what you would say to encourage and bring forth something in your life that is more positive. And think of how you can express those boundaries. So I would give yourself some sentences and practice them over and over in your mind to where they become so automatic. that you will say those as opposed to thinking these negative ideas that were not true. Those were not true. That was just something that you imprinted on because someone had these wounds and was dysfunctional, and none of that was true. So you're going to put truth in there. So you're developing some behaviors, some plans on new behaviors, some new thoughts, new things you're going to say, and you're going to rehearse it over and over in your mind. You're going to imagine that toxic ball in front of you on a regular basis so it's out of you, and you're sending healing to that all the time. So this is a way to move forward. So we've done all of that, and thank you for listening to that story. I enjoy that story so much. So again, my name is Michelle Love. The name of this show is Dynamic Change. And within this show, I am providing psychological techniques and ways that you can break down emotional experiences in life and analyze them through a lens of psychology, and then utilizing meditation and wellness techniques so you can clear emotional baggage and develop more wellness in your life. And you can go to my website for more information on me. It's dynamicchange.wellness.com. You can email me through the website at dcwellness88@gmail.com. I upload these weekly shows to YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. It's Michelle Love with Dynamic Change and Wellness. And then you can watch them at your leisure. And so all the shows are put up there. Next week, I will be talking about setting boundaries with people that are draining. So that will be the topic for next week. And right now I'm going to read an announcement for KPCA LP radio station and TV station, and it's Lulu's Lunchbox. This show is on Tuesdays at 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. It's hosted by Lulu. Lulu has an eclectic musical taste that spans generations, genres, and continents. More often than not, a lunch break spent with Lulu will revolve around a theme. Songs featuring clapping, whistling, days of the weeks, even murder. She doesn't take herself too seriously, and neither should you. Tuesday at noon has never sounded so good. That sounds really fun. So I hope you have a fantastic week. And again, I'm a certified wellness coach, self-defense instructor, fitness trainer, and I have a degree in psychology. And my goal is to empower people as much as possible and help them develop more wellness in their lives, and which will go, in my opinion, the more you heal yourself, the more you help everyone experience more healing and wellness in their lives. So my focus and my drive in my life has been to be as whole and healed as possible within myself. That's why I love to share all these techniques. I've studied so many different ways to heal yourself on so many different levels. And what I want to do is share this so you can be as whole, brave, assertive, and strong within yourself, so you can therefore take that out into the world and be a model for your kids, for your friends, and that strength goes out into the world. So that's what my goal is. And I love to see people finding more happiness, finding more balance, and sharing that happiness and that inner strength so they can be as dynamic as possible within their life. And that's why this show is called Dynamic Change. Is I believe that we have so much more capability within ourselves than what we normally tap into. And so I love to share ways to develop that inner strength, that muscle to do things that are bold in a way that still feels safe, right? So not impulsive, but just being able to be really strong and present within your life. And today we spoke about allowing yourself to feel emotionally vulnerable, to really expose your true emotional feelings when you're interacting with people that are hurtful, so you can really get through to them, but not in a way to where you're discredited or bullied even further, but in a way that's powerful, in a way that speaks to your truth, in a way that it just is so strong that they have no choice but to really feel the impact of what you're sharing. Often when I'm speaking, this is the type of emotional, clear communication that I want to share with people and educate how we can communicate in these ways to deeply impact people in a healthy way, but in a way that makes them reflect, and where we're really sharing ourselves on such a deep, profound level. And I think this is a really powerful tool for kids to be able to express themselves so they can handle bullies, so they can do it in a way that they can feel safe to saying what they need to say. And later on down the road, I will speak to that premise of saying what you need to say. How can we feel safe and always strive towards saying what is really authentic for myself, what is really expressing my emotional needs, really expressing my mind clearly and honestly, and feeling safe to do so. So we're not adjusting ourselves to try to appease and accommodate others, and we're feeling safe to really truly be present with people and to share ourselves on a deeper level. So to me, that's wellness. To me, that is being strong within yourself, and that's always my goal, is to help people be as strong as possible and be empowered. So I appreciate you tuning in today, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Again, next week I will be talking about setting boundaries with people that are draining, and I think we can all relate to that. And so I think that will be a fun topic to discuss. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for tuning in.